the show Daniel Levitt, who is the writer for Baseball Hot Corner, who has been doing some very flattering articles, we'll say, in regards to Kendall. So we'll go ahead and open up the interview now. In the summer of 2013, weeks after being drafted, former Mississippi State Bulldog standout Kendall Graveman joined the single-A Lansing Lugnuts. In 10 starts, he posted fairly pedestrian numbers. If you fast forward a year, and Graveman has been anything but average. What has been the biggest factor in his rise through the Blue Jays farm system?
The biggest factor for Graveman's rise to the minor leagues this year has been comfort level and routine. Last year, he came straight from pitching in the College World Series for the Bulldogs to professional baseball in Lansing all in about 3 weeks. As you can imagine, there's a lot to take in at such a young age. This year, he's more familiar with his surroundings. He's pitching every 5 days, which is essential to all starting pitchers, and he's had a full off season to build his arm and leg strength. Ultimately, he's a great pitcher. I mean, he pitched the Bulldogs all the way to the NCAA final, so there was no reason as to why he couldn't make a run as he's done.
And again, Kendall's clearly been one of the most productive young arms in the organization, yet none of the major prospect publications have given him the type of respect that his stat line suggests. Do you think that's part criticism or skepticism regarding Graveman's numbers, who I said 11-5 with a 1.87 ERA, or is it because he doesn't possess the same name recognition or star quality of a Sean Nolan or Daniel Norris?
It's more skepticism and criticism that Graveman has faced, and that won't stop as he comes up against the more national writers and reporters. So much is put into preseason prospect rankings, and if you're not ranked, then people are reluctant to pay attention to you based solely on the stats. Graveman has unfortunately fallen into that trap and flown under the radar a little bit. But I think that suits some guys, keeping out of the spotlight and just doing his thing. And at the moment, it seems to be working.
We're here with Daniel Levitt, who is a writer for Baseball Hot Corner, who has been doing a great job covering the minor leagues and all things Toronto Blue Jays. And so anybody who's followed Kendall's career knows that both in college and in the minors, the one thing that appears to be consistent is that he's going to pitch to contact, and he induces a lot of ground balls. How do you see that translating in Toronto, playing half of his games in a dome?
Ground balls in the Rogers Center are an absolute key. When that thing gets up there, boy, it just flies, There's a reason why that ballpark is third in all of baseball for the number of home runs this season. Inducing the ground ball there, therefore, is essential for any pitcher. Just look at the success that Mark Burley's had this year, partly because he works his infielder so often. And Graveman is by no means a power guy, so he's not going to strike out a lot of people, so he has to pitch to his defense whenever he can.
And although Kendall Graveman has been used exclusively as a starter in the minor leagues, he does have some experience as a relief pitcher in college. He could definitely use the Blue Jays could definitely use him in their bullpen. Where do you see the GM ultimately using him as he moves up the next level?
It's unclear at this stage where Unpopular sees Graveman fitting in with the big league club. One consistent trend this season, however, has been top prospects starting out in the pen and then making the transition over to the rotation. Look at Marcus Stroman and Aaron Sanchez. Stroman is clearly the best pitcher on the staff at the moment. So for Graveman, it'll be hard push to make the rotation out of spring training next year. So I think a spot start or a call from the pen looks likely.
And I have one more question for you. The Blue Jays rotation seems to be impenetrable at the moment, with names such as Drew Hutchison, as you alluded to, Aaron Sanchez having a lock on the back end of the rotation. What would the right-handed sinker baller have to do to ultimately reach the big leagues, and when can you see that happen?
Graveman ultimately makes the big league club next year through an injury or via the pen. Despite there being questions surrounding Drew Hutchison and Aaron Sanchez, the rotation looks pretty set at the moment. And you've got to bear in mind that also Daniel Norris, the Blue Jays' #1 prospect, will most likely get the first shot ahead of Graveman. But that's not to say we won't see it at some point in 2015. Because there's such a rapid rise to Buffalo, though, I think a full season at the AAA level will do him a world of good, and prepare him for when the time comes to be put up to the majors.
And that was Daniel Levitt of the Baseball Hot Corner. I want to thank you for joining Late Morning Sports Roundup.